7, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and
Christopher Broadcasting, I don't know if we're,
should we wait to see?
4:30.
They are broadcasting.
And you gotta kind of hit that gavel with some cloud.
Thank you very much, Mark. It sounds like you, never mind. Attendance, Lawrence Wall.
Here.
Linda Moore.
Here.
Mark Eastman.
Here.
Stephen St. Peter.
Here.
Christopher Johnson. Here, and Susan Lassard. Here. Next item on the agenda, item 3, approve minutes of the 9/14/2023 meeting. Sorry I didn't get all this stuff. I had those done 2 weeks ago, and now, as a result of the previous discussion, one item on those minutes needs to be changed, and that's the item on the first page under other items not on the agenda for discussion. I put the wrong name in there. I said Larry reported on Leslie's effort. It should be Larry reported on Whitney's efforts. And so I'm going to amend those minutes to reflect that. You know, and any other discussion on the minutes before I ask for a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the minutes?
Nope.
Nope.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm going to make this a short meeting on my own choice because I have other commitments I need to get to. So I've taken out some of the agenda items that we had the last few months, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay out. And then we'll talk about the schedule near the end of the meeting. So going forward, the budget was the first item that we have on here, and my question, I guess, is, are we on a separate budget in the town records, or are we combined with, and I should have looked it up on the website, but I didn't. Where is the budget for cemetery maintenance located?
It's located in the cemetery section of the regular town budget.
Okay. And do you have any new information on the budget for the next fiscal year as it relates to cemetery? Because I'm aware, and I think we're all aware of the pressures that are coming from revaluation and things. Do you anticipate that will affect what we've proposed or what we're looking at now? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but that's okay too.
That's my job. The next budget cycle will start internally in January and segue to the council end of March, early April. I have no anticipation that this year's perfect storm of the coinciding of changing the cost schedules for property and the blip in the budget for an additional $400,000 in aid to education requirement, and the second part of debt service for the $3 million road project that people voted for in 2019 added on its own $750,000 to the bottom line of the overall budget. So the need for those additional dollars in combination with the revaluation driven by the fact that our state sales ratio had dropped to around 60% and we were losing part of homestead and veterans exemption and the threat of the loss of part of our revenue sharing income. We had waited, this was the 4th year, for these values, for this to have been a spike. This post-COVID pricing, it's not a spike. We're in the 4th year and they're not going down. And I will tell you that since we did this change in cost schedules, sales are still coming in to the town 20% higher than the new valuations that we have on properties. That's the average of how much more people are selling for than what we have properties
Can I
valued
speak to
for.
that?
It's all your fault too.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Should have raised the interest rate 17, but let's move on.
What's that?
Should have raised the interest rate 17, 18, and it might have stopped some of this, but.
Well, but anyway, so what I'm saying is that blip in this is not, the blip in the extra amount needed isn't something that's going to do that again this coming year. Where that 750,000, we've absorbed the blow, shall we say, and so I do not anticipate an increase in changing those or an increase in the mill rate for next year with our budget that's would be adopted and would include the work that we've kind of mapped out to do X amount a year in terms of the cemeteries. So as bad as this year has been, and it's been terrible, and I've talked to, if it isn't everybody in Bucksport, it's close, about, it's been terrible, but the unfortunate reality is we talked about it being terrible from January to June, and apparently that wasn't clear to people who were either watching or not watching what we were doing at the time. So,
Thank you.
anyway,
Well, I just wanted to ask, because I'm just curious as to if there's a plan to maintain that level going forward, or if we're gonna should anticipate a cut in the amount of money that the town sets aside for this operation or this
not
purpose.
for, no.
What's really discouraging for me is reading an article out of one of the main services today saying you haven't seen anything yet when it comes to these homes selling for prices and going up, and it's going to, and they're saying the worst is yet to come, and I'm thinking, just bring a storm in and blow it away then, because but I will also say that you go to the stores and you hear people grousing about it, and I'm thinking, what do you want to do here? But that's life. I just want to double check. The other thing, I compare the maintenance schedule, what we're trying to do here with the cemeteries with the effort here on the waterfront. And I suspect that's a different budget line than Public Works. I should know this because I know it's all online, and I apologize for not knowing this. But this is a different budget line than the Public Works budget. Is that correct, or does it all come under Public
No,
Works?
this
Okay.
comes out under town dock and waterfront maintenance.
Okay, all right. And I'm just there's no concept right now of including the cemetery maintenance into that effort, right?
No, it has its own, although a component of Public Works duties includes maintenance of some of the cemeteries, that there isn't, it wasn't planning to move cemeteries into that budget, other than to better identify the portion of Public Works labor that's utilized to do that, which we have done this year, so we'll have a better idea, in addition to the budget amount, the time Public Works is spending.
That'd be great, because that's actually the next item on the budget, with the work plans, maintenance hours to date. And you're telling me, or telling us rather, that you have that information on, is it broken out by total or by cemetery, individual cemeteries? Because I'm assuming Oak Hill will get majority of that labor time.
Oak Hill is pretty closely defined for every time that we've done it, because the other ones are more of the other ones that we maintained are a combined amount of hours that we've,
Okay.
as opposed to the small ones. Oak Hill is 22 hours
Right.
to do it. 2 people, 11 hours each is what it takes to maintain that.
And last time I knew it was like 18 or 19 or 20 hours or whatever, and I figured at $30 an hour on average. That's a chunk of money right there every time you mow it. And that doesn't include necessarily other maintenance that you might want to apply. Well, I just thought I'd ask that because I'm always concerned about, where we're gonna get the money from and how to continue on, because it's been, to say the least, the progress has been slow with Oak Hill from my perspective. We still don't have the fence out, we still don't have, well, you were doing the RFPs, right, for the fence? And those haven't come in yet? Okay. And
I'm
then-
nervous. Everything I've put out for an RFP recently has come in a third or 50% higher than our original estimates. An example is tonight's MPI project on Central Street, which the construction was estimated at $375,000, and the construction, the lowest bid came in at $433,000.
Yeah.
That's the ambulance bids that came in, the same ambulance we paid $246,000 for 3 years ago, is $291,000.
Yeah.
Riverview just paved, the boulevards up there. I was telling these folks earlier. It was almost, when can you get here? Because every day you could sense the cost was gonna go up. But they got in there and they got it done, so, and it is, I asked the gentleman at the time about gravel. He said 4 or 5 years ago, no, 2 or 3 years ago, it was $5 a cubic yard. Now it's between $15 and $19 a cubic yard for gravel, depending on the kind you're gonna get. And I thought, oh, man.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's driven in part by the fact that a lot of sites are running out.
They
and
are.
they can't
Yeah.
license new sites
Yeah.
because nobody will permit them.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Any questions on
The
budget?
bearer of good news
Yes,
here.
right.
Any questions on the budget process at this time? So the budget process starts in January. By March and early April, you usually have it to the council for a preliminary review.
Yes, they start their formal hearings in May, they
Right.
get it in April.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the budget? Where we are at, or much of the Oak Hill budget proposed for the fence is coming out of the
Endowment.
endowment? Okay. That won't be the case if we move to, move fence improvement at some of these other locations like Moulton or Page. Go ahead, Linda.
Well, as I saw in the last month minutes, the cost, the estimated cost of the fencing. Do we have one for the tree removal?
Tree
as well?
removal is budgeted into our regular, we budget $22,000 a year for the removal of trees. And I've moved the trees around the cemetery to the top of the list of tree removal in order to, and I think that the $22,000 should take care of the majority of that.
We do have another tree, a maple tree down at the bottom end there, down by Franklin Street, that I'd forgotten. I went by there yesterday, I thought, oh, man. Because we have the maple up at the other end that we decided that we were gonna leave there and take all the locusts and all that up at towards your place. But then I went by and saw this great big maple tree inside the fence down at the far end along Franklin Street. And I thought, well, there's another one we probably are not gonna touch. It's a beautiful tree. I don't really know if there's many stones around it, but I thought, well, that changed the plans a little bit right there. I thought we were gonna end up with one tree. We aren't. That's news. They're probably
We
insignificant.
may have 2 trees.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
I'll talk about that when you get to the Oak Hill.
Okay. The Old Methodist Survey, Luke came in this afternoon and said, nothing yet. He said, there's a great need for surveyors in the state of Maine or whatever, and it's just, he doesn't know, he's not gonna, there was no plan on when he'll get there now, and it's kind of like we're frozen in time here. Sometimes it's discouraging because, you want to get this stuff going and get it done, but this one survey line is just, I don't know when we're gonna get it done. And that's discouraging, to say the least, because he did promise a couple of times that he would have it done by a certain time. And to change now, to go to another surveyor, Luke convinced me that we don't need to.
We've tried 2 before this one.
It isn't gonna happen. It's not worth the time. He put you in the back of
No,
line.
I called one
somebody
the other
else.
day and he said he was 3 months out anyway, another one, I think that's gonna be across the board, 3, 4, 5 months out.
Well, there you go. So nothing's gonna happen with 917, for this year at least. And hopefully I don't know if he's not gonna be able to do anything in the winter, obviously.
He does go into the winter usually.
Can he?
Depends on the snow, the
Yeah.
snowpack.
If it's like the past several years, you can do it right through December.
Yeah, without an
Because
issue.
for the past several years, haven't had much, if any, snowfall until January or February is when it's got interest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just wanted to put it on there, because I was gonna ask him, but he volunteered, he came in before the meeting, told me what was going on with it, so. I'd like to move on to the Oak Hill fence and tree removal, which we've already discussed to a certain length, but Larry, you said you had something you wanted.
Just to back up a little bit, the endowment for Oak Hill, who's in charge of that? You are, okay.
Well, I'm the treasurer for the municipality, so that, that's how that goes. The council would have to approve the expenditure, but
Okay, that's.
we're doing an RFP to use funds from that endowment for the fencing.
And you would include the cost of the project of the town removing that fence too, right? I mean, that's still expense, to hone that thing out. I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be on the RFP, but it would still be a cost of the project. It'd be nice to know. It's gonna take time and effort, equipment, labor.
You mean track the hours of the town crew, or?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're gonna do. The town crew is gonna be fence removal.
Yeah, and that'd be great to know that too, so we can tell people. And I think it's important that people know how hours are spent, because I don't think we get enough credit for hours that are spent in these organizations, including the town of Bucksport, that it does take time. All right, anything
So,
else?
yes.
Go ahead, Larry.
So I tagged along with Jay Lanfer and Big J from the tree service. That tree you're referring to at Franklin Street, they discussed that, and that's right on the fence line, so
Yeah, we would have a hard time putting a new fence back with that in place, but you
So-
think it needs to stay?
I think.
I know, I just thought it was a nice tree. I know what you're talking, you're absolutely right, I forgot about that. The fence runs up just outside of it, right along the edge.
So I think that one ought to come
That-
down as well,
I would agree. I mean, it's right in the fence, isn't it?
pretty much. It's right on the edge of it.
That's fine with me, I just thought, because of the love of maple trees, and where it's on the street and provides color or whatever, there may be some pushback on it, but that's not a reason not to do it. If we need to do it for installation of the fence, we need to do it, there's no way around it.
So anyway, they're aware of it.
They're
They-
planning to take it, you said?
They're aware of it. What's going on. The tree in the center of the cemetery that everybody adores in the fall, Big J looked at that, and it's got a split right down the middle, down the trunk. So something either has to be done to secure that or take it out. I think it ought to come out.
I can't see doctoring a tree, you know.
I've looked at it. I saw it. After Larry told me that.
I mean, that thing splits, it's gonna wipe out a lot of stones.
Oh, it's not good.
I was originally in favor of removing it, as many of you know, but I thought the consensus.
You didn't
of the
split
committee-
it, did you, Chris?
No, I didn't.
Tell
No,
us the truth.
no. So shall we add that to the list then of, is that the consensus of the committee to remove that tree as well?
If it's dying, there's no point in leaving it there.
The good thing about it is perhaps we can reset some of the stones that the roots have put around, at least get them straightened out. I think in that sense, it would be good to do that. But we have that same problem with the Lanford Cemetery too, where the trees have moved the stones, or the stones are up like this next to the, and that's a whole different discussion in the future, I think, of what we're gonna do with those cemeteries. But if that's the case, then that will add, what, $3,000-4,000 to the cost of getting that tree out of there. Last time I had trees removed next to the church on my property, it was $1,600 or $1,700. Some
I
of those,
don't
and that was a
know,
long
some
time
of those
ago.
trees are talking about a crane.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well,
We've done that.
Yes, we
We've
have.
done that.
Yep.
Yep.
yeah, so is that the consensus of the committee to remove that tree? Add that to the removal, only, mainly because we can't install a fence with it there.
The one on Franklin Street.
Yeah. And
I
the
said-
one on Franklin Street, and also the other one that split up
I
the
say
other end.
remove them both.
I would
Okay,
agree.
I really approve.
so that will leave no trees
Okay.
there, which is every cemetery's dream, if you take care of them, is to have no trees.
Just give you-
I know that's kind of wise, cynical, and flippant, but
But there's a hydrangea bush I'd like.
we'll leave that there.
Thanks for
All right. Thank you, Larry, for that, that information. Appreciate it.
There was at one point, there was a discussion about how many of the trees up around the edge, the locust and those oaks, is it the consensus that all of those are going to?
I think
That
the
was mine.
consensus was that, between the three of us, we discussed it, JJ and myself, that possibly one could stay, but all the rest of them should go. The locusts definitely, I mean, they're the ones that are seeding up the
Yeah.
cemeteries.
So those others are on your property. That was our understanding.
Yeah.
So the understanding that I remember is we were gonna remove the trees on your property, but you're saying perhaps one could stay?
Yeah.
Now, is that?
One or two, there's a cluster of trees right there that are not close to the fence line. Some of the clusters should go, but the consensus was that possibly you could leave one.
We get into landscaping here, Larry. Let's go.
Actually, I have been since that project.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I'm hearing that you're gonna manage that removal with the person taking that out. And, because my understanding, we were gonna take them all out if they were a threat, but you're saying they're not a threat to the fence or to the cemetery.
I'm saying that there's possibly one that, on my property that's not.
Right, so when will that be not a possibility, do you know? Is that something you'll wait till you get things going?
I think so, yeah.
The town have a problem with that uncertainty, do you think? Or should we just play it by ear here and see what happens? I don't mean to be rude or mean, I'm just trying to make sure we're, because we're gonna be working on private
Big
property.
J has done very good work for the town
Mhm.
and has been really good at evaluating
Yeah, okay,
tree conditions, and if in the process of removing, he thinks that something in a root system or something else is gonna be damaged to the point where it needs to come, he's not a shy man.
no, he isn't.
No.
He will
He isn't.
tell you that the tree needs to come down.
He does
And
great
also
work.
in that area that, that's where they're gonna require the crane. So if the tree interferes with the crane work,
No, because of that locust.
then,
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Larry. I just wanted to make sure there was no misunderstanding, or everybody was solid on both
I
sides of
know,
the
I think
fence.
that this is an evaluative process sometimes
Okay.
when there's a bunch of trees involved, depending on the damage that can occur to them, or from the removal of their surrounding ones.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Larry, for that
You're welcome.
information. Item 5, other items not on the agenda for discussion. Does anybody here want to bring an item up that they think
Well-
we should address?
this is just a presentation, really. It's on Oak Hill Cemetery, and I don't have only one copy. This is a work that Whitney's been doing to stones. The first 3 pages are there's captions on them, it'll describe what they are.
Okay. Are you listening?
The first 3 pages are the same stone, but quite impressive. The work that she does.
Can I get copies of these for the records,
I'll try.
please? Very nice.
But if you look at the first one, then look at the
Yeah.
finished product, and
I'm sorry.
you can hardly tell that it was broken. That's one that got nailed by the big oak. It came down in that micro burst.
Mhm. Yeah,
She's
cleaned them up.
really excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, she actually, that raised lettering, she actually redid that where it was missing, and the carved letters as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
With that kind of skill, she's not doing this for free, is she? At this time?
She
a
has so
business.
far, and that was my next point. She's not charging for that repair, although she said it would, if she had to charge for it, probably be a $250 repair job. but I asked her how much she's got into cleaning solution in that cemetery alone. She said about $700.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's hard to find that stuff now because there's so much demand for it, the
Mhm.
D2.
Yeah,
And
D2.
I know that, yeah, well,
But I'm just wondering if somehow we can donate some money for that purpose.
we have money for, what, 80 to 100 a year, is that my understanding, on stone repair?
We do. We have I can talk, $5,000 in stone repair funds
Yeah.
in the budget.
Wow.
But would it be possible to,
Let me see.
if not all, but part of what she spent on solution?
To date, you mean? Has that solution been used in the town of Bucksport, is that?
It's
what
been
you're
used
saying?
on, it was her estimate for that cemetery alone. She's done other cemeteries around Orland and Bucksport. That's not part of it.
She'd have to submit a statement, I would
Yes,
think.
you just have to submit a bill for the cost of the, if it's material only, it's, you
Yeah.
know, the other thing that we could do is if she wanted to buy some of that, we could reimburse for the cost to be used on things that she
Yeah.
did in Bucksport.
Okay.
You know, however it works out, if she's,
About $45 a gallon.
It is exactly what she pays.
It's nice to have that up front, though, that estimate, you know, rather than after the fact, because there are other people go in and do work up at
Well, that's-
Riverview, and we don't even know. That's why we would, at one point, talked about getting ahead of it and saying, before you do this, contact us, so
Yeah,
we'll have an
I
understanding.
agree.
So that would help, and then get an estimate of what, you know, then we've had the contact, we've established the date, and then anything after that theoretically could be reimbursed, so
Mm.
that's what makes it hard when people don't let you know. And there's been a gentleman up at Riverview that was doing stuff and not asking for any money because he's got a, you were telling me, or somebody was telling me there's a Facebook, or, not a Facebook, one of those services where he gets money sent in.
Oh,
He
that was
goes out and does volunteer work, and went down in the ditch and took out all the old trash and all that stuff out. And he just doesn't ask for any money, but trying to get a record of what he's done is really tough. So I said, well, just get us a record so we can know what you've done and put it in. And the other thing too is she's volunteering, right? So at
This
20
is not coming from her. It's
right, so
coming on from me because it's such a significant amount of money.
there's value to the town and to any organization to know how many volunteer hours have been spent on some of these projects, because if we go out for grant funding in the future, it's nice to know $25, $30 an hour for a volunteer. You know, it helps. It helps anytime you want to.
I'm sure she could compile something.
The hours and what she's done would be great. And also, going forward, to check in with us. We don't have a formal process other than contact the town manager at this point, right? On these things, so.
it's pretty much the process for everything.
Right.
Just saying.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. There was something else I was gonna talk about, and I've forgotten already what it is, and I'm sorry, but it was another question I was gonna have about these, the cemeteries here, but I'll move on. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, we've had these monthly meetings, and the question is, going into November now, do we wanna continue to meet monthly at these meetings? Is that something that's valuable or even necessary? Or can we go into a hiatus till January? I'm not advocating, I thought I'd throw it out there.
I mean, we could wait till we have some progress on these
Yeah,
items that we've been bringing up.
I agree. Through the winter, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, and
Every
if
other-
Sue says we've got some information, we could convene them the
Yep.
following month.
Exactly.
How do you feel about it, Linda?
I think that's fine with me. I'm just wondering, do we have any kind of timeline for Oak Hill?
Right.
Well, the bid should be in within the month, and then they'll go to the board, the council, for use of this committee's already said do
Fine,
it.
right.
And, the council will, so by the beginning of the first council meeting in November, and we usually only have one because of the way Thanksgiving falls, and the same is true for December, that we could get, the fence approved, approved and get on the schedule for the fence company for the spring, and have the trees taken down between now and then. Not wait till spring to be,
Right.
get the trees taken down as soon as we can get them on the schedule with Jay. And have that, once that is done, then when the fence schedule is ready, have the old one removed so that the new one can go in before the date that that's supposed to be done.
Do you think they'll hold a price firm for like 6 months on that fence? Or they give you a date because of,
Generally speaking, because if we order it and pay for it,
okay.
they'll have it, they just won't have it, they'll be responsible for storing it
Yeah,
until they
okay.
install it.
Well, I just thought about that, the way things are going, pricing now.
Oh, the things that you're gonna have someone manufacture,
We have no control of it.
good luck.
Well, I can personally tell you that between last year and this year, fencing
Yeah, 'cause you did a bunch.
went up $130 a panel.
Oh, for the fiberglass, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the vinyl.
Right.
That's incredible.
Could we just set a February date for reconvening? I mean, does this committee have to go through anything with the change of the council in the first of the year? No. Or we could meet in January?
January.
You could meet at the end of
Good.
January, that makes sense, because
Mhm.
at that time you could look at what you want the budget to contain.
Yeah.
That's gonna start to be prepared. We'll have the timeline for trees down and fencing to move forward. That should be ready to go. Those, at least the budget in that item should be,
And hopefully
Agenda.
survey,
yeah, well,
hopefully.
yeah.
That's a whole, oh man, that's gonna be tough. With just a tough. it's
So it
gonna
would be
tough.
the fourth
Or do we,
Thursday in January.
Is there a council meeting that day too?
Yes.
yeah, 25th.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I just wanna double check here, if I can get this thing to work. So that'll be the second one in January, the second,
Council meeting day.
yeah.
Yep.
Am I right on that?
Correct.
January 25th, is that what we said?
Yep.
Yeah, that works for me. Bucksort Service Network that morning. That's it. That'll be great. So January 25th, right?
Yep.
You okay with that, Larry?
Yes.
Stephen, you okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay. Let's hope, no, stop, Chris.
Yeah. Don't jinx it.
No. Anything else that we need to discuss about the cemetery situation? Oh, I know what I was gonna ask. Would you think that, I'm sorry about that noise, do you think that the town would be interested in joining the Maine Cemetery Association? Not the old Cemetery Association, but the Maine Cemetery Association. I think it's $50 a year. If you say no, that's fine, but I just thought I'd ask anyhow. Because they do provide a lot of information. And there's sort of, the old Cemetery Association deals with old cemeteries. The Cemetery Association deals with, I think they lobby in Augusta and do things of that nature. But I thought I'd ask.
I've got no problems with that.
It's up to the committee.
I think it would be good for the town, considering all the misinformation that this town has had to deal with down through the past few years. And some of that has come from the old Cemetery Association as well, just to be able to participate and be part of that group. They do some pretty good work. They've got a lot of information online that you can use for your processes, whether it's for, your code or your, whatever you've got going on in your town that they can help you with, so.
I've got no problem with that. If it doesn't work out, you can always cancel it.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
is that the consensus here, the $50? I think it's $50. If it isn't, if it's more than 50, I'll pay the difference. But I just thought it'd be worth it and give us some information, some
I
content.
don't think it's 150, because I think I remember.
Of Maine Cemetery?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm a member of the Old Cemetery Association.
That's understandable.
I'm going to adjourn the meeting now. But, no, and they do great work too. And I'm hoping that eventually we can get them to come here as well. One of the things that we realize up at Riverview is we need to come up with a plan on fixing stones and getting stones that are tipped over. And they train, you can train for it, these associations will train you, they'll provide you with the resources to get going on some of these, to make it nice. There's a lot of stuff that one can do in these towns, as we know, to make it better, but I do appreciate your support too, so. I'm hoping that also finally on January, that we consider changing, positions here, that somebody else wants to take over the chairmanship.
Yeah, that's reasonable. We can talk about that at the January meeting.
Because I struggled last meeting with this. I watched myself and thought, I know, we've got to move on from this. So if somebody would be interested, that would be great, and we can talk about it in January perhaps.
Sounds good.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
All right, seconded.
Stephen, second. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Sorry it took so long.